Alright, part 2. This is Shayla Sketches, and this is part 2 of the Persephone and Hades story. Today I'm going to be drawing Hades and Hermes as I tell the part 2 of the story. So, Demeter swore that her daughter must be found, and with an unbreakable promise. Meanwhile, in the underworld, Persephone slowly has been finding her way through 6 months of trying to woo the man that she has fallen in love with. Hades has had a bit of a time trying to figure out what's going on, why this woman is still following him around, and whether or not he is falling in love with her. It is clear to himself that he cares for her, but he doesn't know how to handle it, frankly. Hades is not a young god, though he's not an old god either. He's god of the underworld. Now, every time that I have ever heard the stories, as you go through some of the myths, you realize that Hades is honestly one of the most honorable gods of the Greeks. It's one of the most honorable gods that they have. The only other truly honorable god probably being Hephaestus, and maybe Hermes, since Hermes himself has, while he has lots of mortal loves over the years, the way that it tracks down, it's basically just one person at a time until that mortal dies. Hades himself has always come off to me as the honorable introvert. He is a man who volunteered to go and rule the underworld, where he knew that he wouldn't be having to deal with the other gods very often. And while occasionally shown as clean-shaven, for some reason I've always seen him as the kind of guy who has a well-trimmed beard. Not necessarily a little pointy beard, but just something simple. Got that long, dark hair. Persephone watches as she gets him to hang out with her. To her, probably the first truly exciting step in their relationship was the time that he finally asked her out on a date. I mean, she was a goddess hanging around, and she had dropped so many hints at that point. But by the time he actually decided to, she was so excited. She got herself a new dress. She hung out with and finally told Hermes that he had. And Hermes grinned because he had most definitely told Hades that he needed to just ask her after all of that. So Hades, little shy Hades, made his way over to the spring goddess, where she was living. Across the way, she'd had some of the Hecatenares build her a secondary little house, a villa really, across from Hades' palace. One of the Hecatenares, of course, is the architect, while the one is the forge master, and the one who made both Hades' helm of invisibility and Zeus's lightning bolt, as well as the trident of Poseidon. I like to think of the Hecatenares with their three as the architect, the engineer, and the forge master, because at least the way that it's represented in many of the different stories where they're actually, in the ones that they're actually mentioned, it seems like they have different personalities, but we've lost some of the stories for what actually tells them apart. So I like to think of them as those three, and honestly, it's kind of funny. I think of them in terms of the three little pigs. With one of them being the one who builds with straw, the one who builds with brick, and the one who builds with wood. But having it represent, instead of foolish architecture choices, the fact that one of them creates the archetype and builds the things, how there's builds the, oh my gosh, what are they called? You know, when you've got the thing that you're building and you build a mock-up. Essentially, I think of the one who builds it on straw as the one who draws up the blueprints. The one who builds it out of sticks is the one who makes the model. There we go, model. That makes the model, and then the one who builds it out of the bricks, the one who actually ends up getting the architecture itself down. So the king of the underworld finally asked the goddess of spring out. Now, this is the point at which I definitely take my own path when I tell this story, because there's a lot less that we know about the actual courtship of Hades and Persephone than just they ended up running around the underworld and they got married. But I like to think that since the underworld is also considered a very similar place to the Tuatha Teg if you go to Ireland, or the Fair Folk if you're in England, I like to think that the Fey realm is quite nearby. So Hades took her on a date to the Fey realm to show off some of the other things she could learn down there. He had noticed how different things function, how different things work, how especially the different ecologies and creatures are. More than just a goddess of spring as he had thought, but a goddess of plant life in general, of growth. As her mother was over agriculture, she was over and understanding of plant life. Of course, Demeter's mother Rhea was over plant life, and so Persephone got a lot more of that knowledge portion, which honestly explains why she isn't deathly bored in the underworld, because there's so much life that is new that you can't see down there, even when you're amongst the dead. And amongst the dead, what are you going to find? How does it change how things live when they only have spirit instead of body? And how does it change how things are when they've got the different types all around them? I'm going to draw some boots on Hades here, which are actually based off a rendition of Artemis's boots, because I can see him wanting something comfortable to walk in. Again, Hades is one of the more hardworking of the gods, second only to Hephaestus, and he is one of the few that seems to actually actively do his job all the time, whenever he's trying to do any given thing. So Hades took her on a date. They had some pomegranates. Hijinks ensued. Actually talked to the Fae. Persephone had one of her fates told, and Hades met one of his exes, who was not a dryad or Maiad, but it's one of the kind of earth spirit peoples, Menthe, I believe, which is one of only 2 ex-girlfriends that he had, as opposed to his brothers, who are, well, one of them is Zeus, so like 900 million, depending on what was actively him running around and getting people pregnant, as opposed to him running around and then later generations were pregnant. Because, I mean, let's go with Hercules. Just for an example, Hercules is not the direct son of Zeus if you go through his actual story. He is the son of, he's the great-grandson of Electron, who was the son of Perseus, who was a direct son of Zeus, and Electron had a granddaughter who married a general, and that general apparently is the one who Zeus dressed up as to get her pregnant, and it just sounds really sketchy, but when you look at it, you just go, you know what, he's just the great-grandson of Zeus. Hercules is the great-grandson of Zeus. That's what it comes down to. It's just genetics. It's normal. Godly genetics are just like red hair. They are recessive, essentially. And so I like to have that in mind whenever I look at the Greek myths and how Zeus is dealt with, especially when you have to go with the nightmare that is Hesiod myths, which mixes up, because, okay, there's dual nature between gods within the Hesiod myths, and it mixes up Hades and Zeus, because whenever they say the chthonic Zeus, they literally just mean Zeus in the underworld, which means to them Zeus as in a title instead of a person. So they have the ruler of the underworld, and it literally just means Hades, which honestly, one of the funniest things about that is that means that if you go back to the original source stuff, Dionysus is not actually a son of Zeus. He is a son of Hades and Persephone, which is kind of great because his entire thing is madness, wine, and rebirth are his like main godly attributes, so it ends up quite entertaining. But anyway, there we go. Hades, more of a party animal than anyone gives him credit for. Partially because he doesn't invite any of the other gods to the parties, because that would be boring. The other other gods make things awkward and dramatic, and why would you want a party to be awkward and dramatic when it could just be fun? Also, not to mention, if Zeus is how a lot of people see him today, it would feel obnoxious because you wouldn't want the parties to turn into like orgies or something, because Zeus is kind of not that type of guy within any myth you see. So Hades finds his way and fumbles his way through courting Persephone. It's not something he does very often. And he finally manages to get up the courage to ask her to marry him. And she says, abso-freaking-leakin-lutely. But, we're gonna have to tell my mom. And so Hades hikes up his boots, because at this point he knows that her mom is Demeter, and he knows Demeter pretty well, because she's one of the ones that helped defeat Kronos. Well, let's get down to this then. So he gets Hermes to come with them, and they go up to Olympus. And when they get out of the underworld, they are a little bit shocked at the fact that nothing is growing. Like, just, there is nothing growing whatsoever. The entire planet seems to be, well, not the entire planet seems to be fine, but no farmers' fields are happy, and they seem to be actively having people dying because all they can do is hunt. There's a massive famine going on, and so they go to try and find out what's going on and why on earth everything is going down so freaking destructively. And they find their way onto Olympus, with Demeter still ranting at Zeus, because she's been ranting for about a month at this point. Because let's be honest, if there's going to be that one person who, if they are a god and they have immortality, they will take a month to rant. At this point, Zeus has probably fallen asleep, and they get up there, and Persephone goes, "Hi, Mom." And Persephone whips around and goes, "Oh, my darling girl, you're back," and everything springs into blooming and is like, "Wah, wah, wah, wah. I love you, I'm never letting you out of my sight, girl." And Persephone goes, "Well, that's unfortunate, because you're going to be letting me out of your sight pretty soon here." "What? Why?" And then she shows her, well, it wouldn't be a ring at that point, but the Greek equivalent. "You are engaged to him?" And Demeter's always kind of seen Hades as this, so she kind of thinks of him as a coward. He's not necessarily a coward, but the fact that he asked for a helm of invisibility means that nobody sees the heroic acts that he does, because he doesn't necessarily want them to. He is humble, but at the cost of being called a coward by everybody else, because Greeks in the ancient mythologies seem to only care about notoriety. So, my daughter is not marrying a underworld-going coward who's just sitting around and not doing anything with his life, except for, ruling the underworld. Persephone interjects. Well, yes, he's doing that, I suppose. But why would I let you go down there and be with him? Can't you see how much you're missing up in the surface world? Didn't you see what happened to the agriculture? Yeah, I was wondering about that, because, that's not my thing. That's your thing. Oh. Zeus wakes up because he was mostly faking his sleepiness to see if she would go away. She said that she wouldn't let anything grow until you came back. Mom, that's really irresponsible. Especially if you didn't know where I was. My goodness. I didn't know where you were. I thought it would motivate people to find you. And the humans, are they doing okay? Well, I mean, a few of them are dying from hunger, but Mom! Okay, fine. I fixed it already. See, you're back, so now I can fix it. Good. And it's not going to get unfixed when I leave, right? When you leave? Again, ominous tone from Demeter. You're not going anywhere. I just barely got you back. You are going to stay here with all of your dolls and all of your flowers, and no, Mom, I'm getting married. I am well old enough, I have been for years, to get married. Zeus, you're basically my foster dad. Marry us. Right. Yes, we should set up a wedding, though? Demeter! Do you want to be the one who's in charge of the wedding? And suddenly, Demeter realized that her time had come. And so she got every little thing ready that she possibly could. She found every little candle, and it had to be arranged in the air perfectly for the ceremony. And she found every single baker in the world, and she taught humans how to do agriculture better. She found multiple people and got them ready across the field, and oh, it was so exciting, and she was having so much fun. And then it was a year later, and Persephone was banging her head at a rehearsal dinner table for a rehearsal dinner for the actual rehearsal dinner, which was planned for 2 years after that. Mom, it has been a while. Why is this still happening? Well, you know how it goes. You can only get married once after all. Tell Zeus that. Oh, Zeus shrugged. Well, I mean, I miss Metis. But she's always right here. He tapped on his heart. Well, then he tapped on his stomach. Maybe here. Gut feeling, you know? Persephone rolled her eyes. And when is the actual wedding supposed to be? Hades walked in about that time, as Demeter said. In 32 years. Don't you worry. We'll have everything perfect by then. Hades raised an eye and sat down by Persephone. So, you, only 32 years then before we get married, I guess? Sounds like it. Demeter turned around and walked over to tell Hermes that he needed to move one of the candles 0.4 of an inch to the right. I can't stand this anymore. Hades, we're getting married. Isn't that what this is all about? No, I mean, we're gonna elope. Let's go find Zeus. We need to talk to him. But what about our rehearsal dinner? I'm pretty sure that Mom won't notice that we're gone. In fact, hey, Circe, come over here a second. Circe wandered over. Hey, how long do you think you can make convincing illusions of us? A few days, maybe? How long was this rehearsal dinner supposed to take? A week. Oh. Yeah, I think I can do that. You guys go have fun. Thank you, Circe, your doll. So, she went off to find Hermes. Hey, Hermes, can you get Zeus and Poseidon here without alerting Demeter to the fact that they're here? And hopefully Hestia, please, 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 please. I need Hera. Number one of them. That's a lot of people. It's not as many as my mom is trying to gather. Ha, nice. Yeah, I'll be right back. Give me a second. 1 second later, Hermes basically plopped onto a grassy knoll where Persephone and Hades were sitting. Zeus, the king of the gods, lightning bolt in a quiver on his back, and the Triton-wielding king of the sea and their wives. Hermes, what are you doing? Hera went. Hera! Persephone ran up to her aunt and gave her a hug. You know how that thing that my mom is doing is going? You're the goddess of marriage, right? Isn't that supposed to be your thing, Aunt Hera? Hera squared up her shoulders a little bit. Well, yes, though you are her daughter, so she's just been trying to get the day perfect. Yes, perfect. For what she wants. Did you know that she hasn't actually taken all of my advice? Well, it's hard to take all of your advice. I believe that at one point you wanted something about silver bells ringing in the distance. That was a joke. So, what is your plan then? Well, you're the goddess of marriage, so how about you just marry us, and we'll elope? None of this massive nasty ceremony stuff, and Mom can have fun for 32 years doing her marriage thing if she wants to continue that, and I will just be down studying in the underworld with my newly minted husband. Newly minted. We are going to miss the party mints. Hades probably didn't say, since party mints weren't a thing anymore. Or yet. Or until then. I don't know. So, Hera laughed, though. I don't mind terribly so. So, Zeus and Poseidon witnessed the marriage as Hera performed the marriage of Persephone and Hades. Obviously, Zeus made sure that there were storm clouds covering up the grassy knoll just in case, so that there wouldn't be anyone to tell Demeter exactly where they had gone. And when the ceremony was finally done, Persephone whistled for Hades' carriage. They jumped in, and with his fantastic earthquake powers, because he is the god of tsunamis, not just the ocean, not just earthquakes. Poseidon is the god of tsunamis. He summoned a massive earthquake which shook open the ground so that they had a quick escape route straight into the underworld, and Persephone and Hades went home and lived happily ever after until 32 years later. And Demeter figured out what they had done. And the entire swearing on the river Styx till my daughter comes back thing almost happened again. But Persephone bargained that she would come and hang out with her mother and do her research on the surface as well, since obviously there's a lot of plants on the surface that still need to be studied and understood. So, her time spent in between her home in the underworld with her husband and up in the over normal world, with her mother studying the plants that she was the goddess over. And that is the story of Persephone and Hades as I have compiled it. Now, of course, this is a shift from some of the normal ways that this story is told, partially because of personal interpretation and partially because of how many different versions there are that I have read, and trying to compile them into a fun way that makes them all make sense is always entertaining. But Tassos. Let's finish up Hermes, since Hermes is one of the few gods who seems to get more crap than he actually gives out. The god of the messengers, and of travel, and of thieves, and of merchants, and of liars, and of liars. L-I-A-R and L-Y-R-E. Though the second one he gave to Apollo after he invented it. He is a god of invention. He is the god of just running around and doing what you want, and usually the god of being the person who pulls the other gods out of trouble when they inevitably find their way into some sort of it. Hermes has always been one of my favorites of the Greek gods, partially because he is one of the more good-natured ones. Him and Athena are the ones who are most likely to help a hero in need. I do think one of my funnest findings is the fact that Odysseus, like I found out that Hercules is the great-grandson of Zeus, Odysseus is actually the great-grandson of Hermes if you go back through his family line. And that explains a lot about why Hermes helps him so much, although the Hera helps a ton, mostly because she's the goddess of adventure and strategy, and Odysseus is one of the smartest people in the ancient Greek stories. Is always fun. But there we go. We've got my version of Hades, the slightly introverted nerd who lives in the underworld because he doesn't have to deal with the drama of the other gods, especially his brother Zeus. And Hermes, the guy who makes a lot of stuff get done because he's one of the few who actually runs around and tries to save the day. Hermes, the original hero in a cape. Alright, so let's call that and do a final look. Whoosh. These guys, here I have Hermes and Hades, the gods of the underworld and travel, liars, and trickery. Alright, that is the end of part 2. Love you guys. See you later.